Hello and welcome to the X Out. I'm your host, Coach Oxford, and today we're going to take a look at zoom action, how to run it, what to look for from the defense to create advantages for your team, and how to add your own wrinkles to the offense to best suit your personnel. So we come out here in a 5-out offense. I've seen people run zoom out of a lot of different sets. Horns is a pretty popular one. We can run through maybe one or two of those later on in the video. Let's start with 5-out though. And just looking at the alignment, I do like my forwards being up here more in that guard wing spot, and the guards starting out in the corners. What that does is allow the guards being the one to take it off the dribble handoff that we're eventually going to see, and it allows the forwards to have the option of slipping or popping out, assuming your forwards can both shoot. If you start to run into the situation where you only have maybe one of your forwards that can shoot, obviously you might want to run it to one side specifically. So looking at this, let's get into the action here. We start off with our 5 initiating the dribble, and that kind of triggers the action. The 3-man sees the 5 dribbling at him, and he gets into a down screen here. And our 1 is going to meet him at the spot. Now, we don't necessarily have to do a spot screen. We can certainly do a man screen and kind of headhunt here, but we do want them to meet at the point of wherever that screen is and force the defense into a decision point. Those decision points are how we're going to be creating advantages a lot of the time. So here we see the defense go under that first screen, and then they're going to go over top the dribble handoff action over here. Now, I want to point out on the back side, we have the 4-man setting a down screen for the 2. That creates another decision point where we can get an advantage. It also kind of keeps the backside a little bit busy, makes them communicate. And if they don't communicate, then we can get some easy points off of that sometimes. Attention back over here on the ball. Defense goes over that dribble handoff, and that creates an advantage for our big rolling downhill as long as they don't let that defender get underneath them. And it forces this defender right here, D5, to guard both ball and roller. Now, if the defense decides to go under on this handoff, then we can just go ahead and shoot a 3 right there. That's not a problem. That's a look we're usually good with. Now, coming downhill again on this roll, let's say that D3 sees that there's an advantage had, and he comes and bumps over here. If he does that, what's going to happen is that usually this backside defender is still going to be chasing. Now, if you face a really good defense who's prepared for this action and they just have this defender stay up here, a lot of the time they can kind of get rid of the advantage you've created. If you're facing a defense that's that prepared for this action, you may want to look at a different alignment in the action that can create an advantage in another way. But let's continue downhill. Let's put this defender back where he was. And coming downhill, this is the big decision point here. Now, this defender over here didn't really pay attention to the backside stuff going on. If we back up, and this defender went over this screen here. So, if this defender slides over, then we have the pass here. If this defender decides to sink there to stop that pass, we have the pass here. And on this side, if this defender does bump here, then we would have the pass over to this man over here. Either way, we're getting a good look. And if we play the advantages correct, then we can get a good look almost every single time. So let's go ahead and back this up, and let's talk about the different advantages we could have as we're getting downhill on this zoom action initial down screen. Ooh, need to move my 3-man. There we go. Initial down screen. Now, if this offensive player ever feels this man shade up on this screen to prevent any kind of like curl action or anything like that, he should immediately find this open space and make himself available for an easy basket. If this defender decides to go over top and trail on the screen, then our offensive player should curl, and then this player can come up and get this dribble handoff. Same thing if the offensive player has an advantage, great. If he doesn't get the ball, then he's just going to pop back like our wing originally did on the other side. So we're getting into here. He goes under, and we talked previously about this. If this defender right here decides to go under this dribble handoff, then it's a good opportunity for us to shoot this three. But let's say he goes under, and this defender high hedges up here, then we may want to look at a slip action from this 5-man. Don't even set the screen. Get the ball out of there and just find that empty space right there. What if the defense is switching? So we look at this, and D5 would come up, and lots of times you'll find this to be a very loose switch. This man's still coming up, and what your offensive player can do here, assuming he still has a live dribble, which is something we want to keep alive there, is he can just go ahead and take that himself. Some people call that an Uno action. He just takes that himself downhill in between splitting that switching action. All right. Now we get further into the play. Coming downhill here, we talked about if this man comes and bumps over, then something we want to look at is this man rising up. This man's going to be coming up on this backside. So if we have an early pass here, creating with an advantage here, that's something we can look at. And let's say somehow, or let's say this defender gets on the bottom side and he comes up, then we probably want to see this point guard try to create an advantage in this range off this defender. Now, if they have a really good defender and we can't get an advantage, then we can kind of maybe get into a dribble handoff action here and see what we can create. Playoff penetration action, we'd probably want to move this guy coming over here, this guy dropping back, and this man can find the opposite short corner. So let's say we wanted to run it out of horns instead of a 5-out set. So what I would do is I would probably enter the ball here to the 5. I'd run a split here. If we have a possibility for a pass down there, down to the basket, that would be great. Probably not going to happen. But let's say this man comes through, this man goes over. As soon as this action is happening over here, we're going to want to send this man through here. Now, our center is going to be coming across. Probably want to go ahead and lift this man on the backside and fill this corner. Now, a really good scoring opportunity we should look for when this 4-man comes down. If this man decides to switch here, and again, we talked about this in the 5-out, we should be looking for this slip right here, right down the lane line. You probably get two buckets a game like that against loose defenses. But let's say we don't get that. He sets the screen. He's coming up. We get our... not what we want. Coming this way. This man doesn't get it, so he sinks to backside, short corner. This man comes up. This man should be over here. And we get into the same type of action where we're looking for the advantage. Does the defense go over? Does the defense go under? If the defense decides to go under this, we probably just want to pitch it back for an open 3. If they decide to go over it, same thing we talked about with the 5-out. We're getting downhill here, looking for an advantage. Come in this way. Here, there's no one to bump on the backside, so he's coming down. And even if he does chase, this 5 shouldn't let him get underneath, and we should have an advantage coming out of that. Downhill there. If this man bumps over, then instead we would probably want to pass to this man coming over here and bump down. Okay, so we read this. And of course, to finish off the episode, we'll go ahead and say they throw an X out. Haha. And we can get into some other action. Maybe we ghost this, coming downhill. Ghost this. He comes downhill. They stay, and maybe we get a 3 out of that. Coming downhill there. Lots of different advantages to be created. Again, the important thing here is don't rush it. What you really want to do is read every single decision point, see what advantages you can create out of that decision point, and have a plan in action for your team. Everyone should be on the same page. If the defense goes over this, we're doing this. If the defense goes under this, we're doing this. If the defense switches this is maybe opportunities we look for advantages there. That really should be the message. If everyone's on the same page as far as what to do in each of those situations, then you should have a smooth running offense and always make the defense wrong. That does it for this episode of The X Out. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like it, and share it out if you're feeling really generous. That ensures I can continue making great content like this. Have a blessed one.